Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. This is kind of an impromptu broadcast. I just had to go on the air here. Today there were some...
but necessary.
Yes, if we found it necessary. CBS has forced us to do this. And everybody, before we get too far into this, I'd like to welcome back my cousin and my first co-host on the post-episode issues on this particular YouTube page, Gadi. Welcome back to the show, Gadi.
Thank you for having me back. I just think that, you know, this is an important major issue that needs to be brought out to the world.
Yeah, we avoid the issues sometimes, but right now, we need to make a stand on this. We need to, maybe we're out of touch though. I was thinking about this in the midst of posting what I did and thinking about the future of where people are going with cord cutting and everything. But we're going to get into this. But first off, the good news, everybody. We're here to talk about a new Star Trek series. Finally, they've heard the cries. Star Trek, which I think personally works better just from a bigger issue, works much better on television than it does in movies.
Television show.
I think there's more great television series, more arcs of episodes in all of the series, even in Enterprise, that are really good. But the movies are well done in some cases and really bad mostly. When it really comes down to the Star Trek movies, I know this is blasphemy from a Star Trek fan. They're more ones than really awesome ones. There are a few really awesome ones though.
Well, the thing is that the movies never had a coherent story to tell. And in the one case where they did have a coherent story to tell, they were fantastic.
Right. And they've told that story 2 other times after that. Some could argue where they're like, okay. And I would also argue, just from a bigger thing, the reason why we were in this place where we are from Star Trek right now is 2 reasons. One, overexposure and too much reliance on the Voyager cast, and then Enterprise being a failure. And also, I personally, and we've talked about this a lot off air, Gadi, that I don't think, as much as I know you don't love him, but as much as I do like Patrick Stewart, and I think Brent Spiner is a really great actor, and I think a lot of those people in the Next Generation cast are good at playing those characters, I don't think any of them are cinema worthy when it really comes down to it for main stars carrying a cast, especially if you compare them to that original cast. Well,
I'll give you that. Patrick Stewart can open a movie.
Exactly, but he can't. But he can't carry it himself.
No, because it's an ensemble cast. So he's got an ensemble that's big enough for television, but not big enough for film. Right.
There's a funny line. I don't know how much you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, but there's a funny point in one of the later episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David institutes himself in the Seinfeld reunion and decides that, and Jason Alexander quits for whatever reason, and Larry is going to play George. And Jerry Seinfeld, one of the funniest things I've ever heard Jerry Seinfeld say, he goes in this rant, you can't play him, you're not an icon, he's an icon, you, no con, and pointing at Larry David. And it's the same thing I would say about every member of that original cast. And I'm someone that my favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. So I don't have a dog in this fight. But when it really comes down to it, to me, the most every member of that original cast is more iconic than pretty much any other Star Trek cast member. They deserve to be movie stars. Mm-hmm. Someone goes, Patrick Stewart is not cinema worthy. What the fuck? That's not what I mean. I think Patrick Stewart is I think he's one of the best actors working. I think he has amazing levels of charisma. I love him on his television series that he's on right now. I think he's excellent in the X-Men movies, and I think he always does a great job with Captain Picard. What I'm saying is he's a better actor than Shatner, but Shatner's more of a movie star, if that makes sense, in my opinion.
I think they both chew scenery, but they chew it in different ways. And I mean, chew scenery in a great way because that can be fun to watch.
Absolutely.
And often was, when Picard was like, saying things like, life is making choices, it wasn't exactly the most subtle interpretation of a page that one's ever heard, but it riveted you.
But I think Patrick Stewart is very cinema worthy. I didn't mean to say that. I guess what I mean is I don't think he is someone and a character, and I think it showed in the films. He couldn't carry a franchise as the main lead star the way that Shatner, because Shatner also had a bunch of...
He couldn't carry an ensemble franchise.
Right, exactly. But
with an ensemble that wasn't movie worthy.
Exactly. What Patrick Stewart does in the X-Men franchise, for instance, is again, he fits into a perfect role. And then you also have Ian McKellen in there, and then Wolverine, and just everyone fitting into a perfect night. The rest of the Next Generation cast don't support him enough to let him do what he could do with the rest of a great cast, similar to what they did in like X-Men 2 or Days of Future Past, things that were Patrick Stewart in these great performances where he did carry and had all this screen gravitas. So I don't mean that, but Mystery of the Sea, I didn't mean that exactly. But I blame that, and I blame the failures of the Next Generation movies for getting us to this point where Star Trek was practically dead. And then J.J. Abrams came out, and I enjoy that first movie, the reboot Star Trek movie. I think it's one of the good Star Trek movies.
I enjoyed watching it. I did. I didn't like the fact that there was an alternate timeline, that whole thing.
Yeah.
In a basic sense, I want the original timeline, but they made a good movie out of the first one. I have not seen the second one.
Good point by Mystery of the Sea. In my opinion, the main problem with the Next Generation movies were the scripts and the TV special length budgets.
They had scripts for the Next Generation movies?
Why else would they just let Frakes direct anything you want? Just give it to Frakes to direct. No, I see what you mean, Mystery of the Sea. And you could be very, very correct about that. Some could argue, and I've heard it argued before, and I agree with it, that the reason why the Next Generation movies didn't work were mainly because of the writing and how they changed Data. They didn't give us the same character. Data in the movies he was a little bit more Data in Nemesis than he was in any of the other ones, and parts of First Contact.
He was wacky Uncle Data throughout the whole movie. Really, I mean, I can see how he was better in Nemesis, but they turned him into wacky Uncle Data, and it just didn't work.
Right, it did. It didn't. It didn't work at all. It wasn't the Data that we had grown to love. And if we go to the iconic thing, and I would say the same thing about Worf, even though my love for Worf and where it comes my love for Worf is more connected to my love for Deep Space Nine. So thinking about him as such a multi-layered character that we explore in Deep Space Nine, if they had actually given us that Worf on screen in the Next Generation movies and being more of something other than just a butt of the jokes, maybe those movies wouldn't have killed the franchise and got us to this point where we are now. And I guess it could be. Yes, Gadi.
Can I just get back to one thing you said about, maybe we're out of touch? I want to quote Seymour Skinner. No, Seymour, it's not you. It's the children who are wrong.
Okay. And this is where we come into talking about our new Star Trek series. So then the new movie came out, which I liked the first movie, and I was really excited to see where they were going to go. For the most part, with all the new cast, just to show that I'm not completely biased to these things. I really like Christopher Pine playing a young Captain Kirk. I think it works. I think Zachary Quinto does a decent job playing Spock. I think he had the hardest job of all.
Loved what they did to Uhura.
I like that they made her more of a character. I don't necessarily love the Sulu. I don't necessarily love the Chekhov, but I do, in the Bones, I feel like they cast someone that's a good actor that's doing an impression rather than understanding what the true nature of Bones is. But I think he does. I think he does a very good job. Someone, and I mentioned this a lot before, Sawyer from Lost, I think would have been a better pick for McCoy, just because he has that cantankerism like built into him. Where the guy that they have playing him now, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's such a.
Who's Simon Pegg?
No, Simon Pegg plays Scotty, and this is my opinion, where he plays a different take on Scotty, but it works. Where I just think the McCoy is a little too, I'm doing an impression of Dr. McCoy, not really being him, where I like.
Well, the same way that everybody but Mark Leonard did a Spock impression when they played a Vulcan. Right, exactly. And they did a bad one.
They did, and that's funny. If anyone's ever read, they have an audiobook for it too. There's 2 books that Leonard Nimoy did. I Am Spock and I'm Not Spock.
I'm Not Spock, yep.
And they go into great detail about how his opinions of everyone else playing Vulcans, and just the truth of the fact that ultimately there were 2 Vulcans. There were Spock and there was Sarek. And then maybe you could say that Kirstie Alley was her own point, but even she was doing a Spock sort of thing. Or Kim Cattrall. Mm-hmm. Kim Cattrall maybe tried to change.
Well, Kim Cattrall was playing Samantha. I mean, let's face it. I'm wearing sexy uniform.
Oh, and speaking of just Star Trek connection, and just because this is just our good Star Trek rant, how they had like a Ensign Dax on that, and they said it was a trill, and it looks nothing like a trill eventually looks like on Deep Space Nine. There's
Yes. Yes.
It's pretty fun. So let's get to it. Then we got Into Darkness, which to me was a step backwards. I did not like Into Darkness. The only part I liked it was like the first 30 minutes when they explored the planet. I thought it was a well put together film, but I thought it was a little cliche, and I didn't like all the Wrath of Khan repeating, the redoing, the rebooting, or switching it up because it's Spock and Khan getting into a fist fight like a Star Trek movie, like a Star Wars movie going on running down the street. I mean, I legitimately liked the first movie. The second movie left me more than disappointed, but it wasn't a bad movie. It was a fun action movie, not a Star Trek movie where what I really want in a psychological thriller Star Trek movie, which I think that they could do really well. Not dark, but really deal with some issues.
That was engaged in. I mean, Star Trek has some basic issues that it raises about contact between alien species and the future of humanity, and just the nature of everything. It deals with the nature of really almost any subject, and they could have a great Star Trek movie that had them dealing with huge big issues on a huge big screen with a huge big presence, but they don't. They give us something that somebody else wrote a long time ago that was really good.
It's a couple of quick points. Mystery of the Sea says the J.J. Abrams films are good, but never felt like Star Trek to me. And Basquat says Mystery of the Sea. You probably be saying that the same about the Star Wars a year from now. What's interesting about that is when I watched the J.J., especially the second one, I go, wow, this would have made a great Star Wars movie. So I have a feeling with Star Wars, J.J.'s in the right hands, where I don't think he was quite the right person for Star Trek. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I think Simon Pegg taking more of an active role in the third Star Trek movie has me really excited about that. And Kaylana says Voyager got bad quickly. Enterprise was never good. Won't waste my time on this one unless Ron Moore is producer writer. And let's hope that they do get some of the Deep Space Nine people involved in this, just because of the way that, and as we'll transition into now, CBS has announced that there's going to be a new Star Trek series in January 2017. The reason why I say that is because I'm a big proponent of the fact that Deep Space Nine might not have influenced other series, but it was doing something that's very commonplace now in television series, and it did something almost before anyone else did. In the sense, and we've talked about this before, St. Elsewhere was another show that did it, these long form story arcs, instead of just having it be episodic. And I think the way that they crafted Deep Space Nine, not to do a carbon copy of it, nothing like that. I just mean the way that the story was interwoven from season 1 into the end of season 7, all the way beginning to end. That's what I think would be most successful. And you hinted at this when you were talking about for a movie. That's where I think Star Trek would be most successful in a series, if it really explored that side of Star Trek. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think that side of Star Trek is it was what made the original show. I mean, you can talk all you want about Shatner's acting. It was enjoyable, and it was also closer to what was done in the era. I think that if you stick to that side, you get back to the roots of Star Trek instead of being way out there with where you're retelling the roots of Star Trek,
right.
Or you're just
when
you get back to the creative roots rather than getting back to the roots of what was created.
Exact. Good point, Gadi. Mystery of the Sea says, I agree. JJ was great for Star Wars. He said he always preferred that to Trek. And I think what you saw in Nemesis and what you saw in some of these movies too is I'd love to see someone that's real passionate and really talented that loves Star Trek work on a Star Trek property. And that's what I think you got with Deep Space Nine. And you got with a lot of that mid to late Next Generation stuff. In some of the good Voyager episodes where it came together.
There were some good Voyager episodes.
There was.
I have to give it to them.
We shit on Voyager a lot through the years, but Voyager had some good arcs. And And I agree, even though I've never got into it, I've watched it, and I can relent that Enterprise in its last couple of years was getting better. I just think it starts the worst of any of the Star Trek series, and that's saying a lot because the beginning of next
the rub down scene?
And that's saying a lot because the beginning of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, who are two of my favorite series,
touch
stink.
my Vulcan boobs.
And it almost killed the series. It really did. So I hope we get a little bit more of that, a sense of wonder, a sense of the future, a sense of what's yet to come. All those things that got.
Can I use that as a jumping off point?
Please jump.
We get it. Do we get it, Phil?
I don't know.
Do we all? I don't know if we all get this because
we're not going to get it.
You know,
we're not going to get it.
We got the other series on broadcast television, but are we going to get this?
Oh God! So here we get into the rub of it all, folks.
This is the rub.
There's a rub. I'm going to read an article, and this is an article from HollywoodReporter.com. Alan Kurtzman is attached to a new Star Trek series, which will premiere in January 2017 on CBS. There'll be one episode premiering on CBS, and then the rest of it will be moved to CBS's digital VOD platform. Let's continue this. Just in time for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, Star Trek is returning to the small screen, and then the smaller screen, and then the smaller screen. Prolific producer Alex Kurtzman is developing a new take on the beloved sci-fi classic for TV. This all sounds pretty good so far. The Hollywood Reporter has learned that Star Trek has been picked up straight to series at CBS, with the premiere slated for the network in January 2017. Subsequent episodes will air on its digital VOD platform, CBS All Access. The premiere and all the other episodes will be available in the U.S. on CBS All Access, the network's digital subscription video on-demand live service. Star Trek, blah, blah, blah. The
subscription.
Yes, subscription. The cross-platform, I skipped over this is what Star Trek is. The cross-platform Star Trek will introduce new characters, seek imaginative new worlds, new civilizations, and boldly go where
nowhere has gone before. I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere. The cross-platform streaming service will host thousands of episodes from CBS's roster, both past and present, is available for $5.99 a month, including in the fee is the ability to stream the local network live. So, okay, this is where I said, are we out of touch? Has the world gone so far to cord cutting that we're ready to take a big time franchise like Star Trek and really just not let people on television watch it? Give them the old drug dealer philosophy. Give them one and then make them pay for more.
How many of these services can there be? I want Netflix, and maybe somebody else wants Hulu and whatever, fine, but they should be able to bid for these shows and have them on the air like the networks used to, because does this mean that every time you want to watch a new show, you're going to have to subscribe to another channel? Cable gets away with it because usually people have a tier that includes AMC or TNT or TBS or, whatever channel has a new program. But this is like basically taking an immensely popular series that's gone way downhill and making people who like the first episode have to decide whether they want to spend $6 a month in addition to they probably have a Netflix account or something else
that they can watch. Yeah. And you can still find stuff online and clips online. It's basically, you're telling me, because I have no need and no reason to get CBS All Access right now, because I understand that there are a lot of people that are cord cutters and I appreciate that. But if we keep doing this with all these streaming services, all they're going to do is 5-10 years from now, the cord cutting is going to be just as expensive as we pay for our fucking cable bill, because we're going to have to get everything to watch everything.
It's going to be more, because it's going to be every production company, every studio, everyone is going to have,
I think this is I don't mind them doing this for some properties. I really don't. And this is where maybe I'm just being selfish. I just don't think something like Star Trek, where you have a hotbed of people that have been fans of this since the 60s, since 1966, that a lot of people that just aren't going to be cord cutters, aren't in that demographic. I mean, Star Trek is a big, wide, there's a lot of people of all age forms that some people just don't want to be cord cutters.
It's a show that was brought back by the people. It was brought back by fans who held conventions. Excuse me. It's really more of the people's show than almost any television show in history.
Yeah.
And I'm not all workers of the world unite here, but
you don't want communism. You just want what's right.
I mean, it's their property and they can do what they want with it. But if what they want to do with it is make there be an impediment to watching it, it's one thing if you get, if you have to have if you had to download iTunes, or something like that.
Right. But, or what Mystery of the Sea just said. Perfect. Like a Netflix 10 to 12 episode season without pointless filler episodes with highly focused story driven arc would have been preferable.
Totally agree.
And Lynch Troll says Alex Kurtzman. Well, the fuck then. fuck this then. He produced Star Trek Into Darkness and the other Star Trek series. I let me pull a quick IMDb up on him so we can see a couple of his other acts while we're talking here. I'll bring that up in a second. And Kaylana also like to add Ron Moore, one of my led Deep Space Nine and then Battlestar Galactica greatness, was hoping he would head Star Wars, the TV show. Deep Space Nine was Trek Star Wars with the Dominion War.
It's a shame. I would have loved it if Ron Moore had been on board, because look at what he did with the Battlestar Galactica reboot. I mean, compared to the Star Trek reboot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He made a new show out of it. And the Star Trek reboot was really a rehash.
Especially the second one. It's hard.
Well, the second one more. So I like I said, I haven't seen it. I realize that's not true. I've seen some of it, enough to realize that it was retelling the Wrath of Khan.
We talked about this at the time. You've seen it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to see the end of that to rehash it. You've seen it and you've seen it better.
I've seen enough.
Yeah, you've seen enough. Got it. Okay, so ultimately, the producer he's just one of those big time. I'm looking at his statistics here. He did Star Trek 4. He's working on Van Helsing, a new Van Helsing, Limitless, the TV series, Hawaii Five-0, Sleepy Hollow, Scorpion, Matador, Amazing Spider-Man 2 he worked on. Oh my God, he worked on Amazing Spider-Man 2. Transformers Prime, Star Trek Into Darkness, Fringe, Cowboys and Aliens, Alias, Jack of All Trades, Xena, Warrior Princess.
Alias was a good show.
I didn't mind Alias. Some of these I don't mind. I kind of like Limitless right now, but I see he's not the right guy for this. You should bring again. You have enough people in the Star Trek pipeline. It just seems like because of the failures that they had at the end, and why we talked about this at the beginning with all the stuff with the Next Generation movies and the end of Voyager, or more like what happened with the end with Enterprise. Any of those people that were attached to the old regime of Star Trek don't seem to be invited to any new parties. It's like, you guys are done. Your time's over. You can't do anything good anymore. And that's a shame, because a lot of those people are really, really good. And
well, especially the ones who came in, Ron Moore came in late-ish. I mean, he was in Next Generation and all in various capacities, but he wasn't one of the ones who, put together Encounter at Farpoint, I don't think.
No, he did a lot of those mid-season episodes, mid-series episodes of the Next Generation,
mid-season,
and a lot of the really good ones, which eventually led to him and a couple of the other writers being like, "Oh, we're going over to Deep Space Nine. That's where we're going to get to really stretch our legs out there and do some really." And they did. And that's
you could watch Deep Space Nine on Channel 38, and that may vary depending where you live. It was probably a different channel for many people, and I respect that. And I understand. I watch it with a DVR. I go over the commercials, but I'm not.
They're turning me into a forceful pirate. They're making me have to go out and pirate this stuff. I mean, I'm not condoning. Yes, I am condoning that. Do not buy. If you're just going to get this thing just for Star Trek, put your foot down and steal it. I'm sorry, I said it.
You know what? No, don't be sorry, because it is the official position of I think the Issues Guy show.
Yeah.
Are we still the Issues Guy show?
Phil the Issues Guy. Whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
Okay. Because when you called me, the number came up in my phone. It was stored as Issues Guy, which was kind of awesome because I haven't been on the show in a while.
Not since the end of Breaking Bad, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been that long. And so, just pirate the darn thing. I mean, because what are they going to do? Go after all of the fans of Star Trek who didn't want to pay $6.99 or $5.99 a month so they could see reruns of NCIS Detroit.
Yeah, when it really comes down to it too, is that the thing? Like, is it this? They're doing this just because their all access thing is doing poorly and they need to jack sales of it?
Yes. What they're looking to do, I'll tell you what they're looking to do. Every single media company that has a programming library and the capacity to produce new programs is looking to go and have their online thing be the online thing.
Mm-hmm. Be the I don't even know if people talk the water cooler, but be the water cooler thing, the thing that breaks the internet, the thing that people are like, oh, have you seen this? What's happening in Star Trek? You have to get this now.
And then they want that to be the springboard to turn their subscription platform into the like everybody has Netflix pretty much, but they want everybody to go, oh yeah, I have CBS.
And part of it is the problem too that you're hinting at, that because it's not a problem because we're getting some great programming from it, where Netflix is producing these and has a really great track record right now of so many of their series are some of the best shows on television right now. And it seems like now is it just going to be like, oh, since this isn't network TV, we can produce a higher quality thing, so it's online access? Like, why won't it scares me. Why don't they want to put this on TV? Do they know it?
Well, and don't they still own two TV networks, CBS and CW? Do
you think this is going to last? Do you think there's going to be public out? Is this one of those things that people are going to cry and bitch about enough that CBS is going to go like, okay, whatever? Or are they going to hold to this? I have not
seen a single person defend it yet.
Okay, the only way
the news has only been out for a couple of hours.
I know.
But everything I've read has been, what you expect me to, I have one friend who was in England, so maybe if he, there it might be on a network.
Right.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to force us to leave the United States so that we can watch this on a network.
No, and I understand, again,
they're traitors.
This is where, again, I have to mention this, that so many people these days are canceling cable, and some of the things that they say are the problem for canceling cable, cutting the cord. But let's be fair, this is CB fucking S. So even the people that cut cable would still get this on the regular TV. Maybe they don't have televisions and they just watch it on the computer or something like that. Then right. I understand.
Yeah, the CBS broadcast networks cover the overwhelming majority of the country.
But what I'm saying too is, for those, I don't blame them, and CBS has done this for a while, and all the networks basically do this now. After their programs air, you can get the online app. If you're somebody that lives out in the middle of nowhere and only has a computer and you don't have a television, you want to stream or only have your phone, you want to get the app and stream the shows. You obviously should put the shows on there, but only making it available for that. And again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, for something like Star Trek that's been popular since the 60s, and you have people of all age groups doing it, I just think it's folly, and I think it's going to be a failed idea. I would be very surprised if this series takes off, or unless if it's really, really good, then maybe it will force people to get it, but then that's bullshit. Then I call bullshit on it.
Well, if it's a really, really good show and they're going to air it on their network, as like you said, like if Walt was giving out samples of the crystal blue stuff, and people are going to watch it, but they're going to watch it on the network, and it's a different experience watching it on the network and watching it on. It just is. Watching on your computer, it's a different experience. They're probably not gonna release it like Netflix does, so you can binge watch it.
Right. They're gonna release it week to week on the app.
Right.
Which is gonna suck awfully.
And that sucks.
And Mystery of the Sea says streaming is the future. Picard would Netflix. And I Netflix, and I watch most of my television right now not on net. Just to be fair, I watch most of my stuff on the online platforms.
Most of my TV I watch on Netflix.
Right, between Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, I watch most of my TV there, and I watch it sometimes on my TV.
But I feel like that should be the ABC, NBC, CBS of the internet, and if you want to put your show on there, online, don't put it on another pay service.
Exactly, and that's what
HBO and Showtime can get away with that
because they're cable pay networks. But when CBS is something that's one of the open networks that everyone's supposed to have access to, when it really comes down to it, and Star Trek is a series that, to me, and I agree with what you're saying, Gadi, that I don't want it to make it seem like, because both of us really do watch most of our content on streaming services, on our computers, on our phones, or on our gaming.
I watched Community when it went to streaming on Yahoo.
We all watch in those platforms. It's just then Paramount that owns the rights to Star Trek, or whoever owns the rights to Star Trek right now, when it really comes down to it, paid the man his money and put it on Netflix. Don't try to push the CBS app on us. Don't try to use this as a drug dealer's tactic. Taste the first episode and then pay our stuff.
I think that's what it is. It's that they know that the fandom of Star Trek is so strong that they can use those people in whatever way they want. And I think that's why it's so
obvious. It's
irritating and obvious and obnoxious.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why it really bothers me. I agree with you 100%.
They know that we've been with this through thick and thin, and we're going to stay with it.
And we've been waiting, through Michael Dorn's bullshit about a new Worf series coming through
and the Captain Sulu years series, and all of that,
and the Excelsior and then the Titan series that we were going to get with Riker, and then the return TV specials, and I've heard animated stuff. There was rumor a while that they're going to do a big animated movie that was a continuation to Voyager, the post Voyager stuff, the return of the Cisco sort of stuff, or all the books that I've read, all the extended universe audiobooks of all that stuff. We've been waiting. We're hungry. We need more Star Trek. We come from a period of time, we're not that far separated from a point in time when there were Star Trek movies and two series on at the same time.
2 series on it at once, yeah.
It's ridiculous. So ultimately, let me see if there's any other information here in this article. CBS Studios has distributed the original series, which was produced by Paramount Television, created by Gene Roddenberry, yada, yada, yada. The original series, animated series from 73 to 74, regular series 66 to 67, Next Generation 87 to 94, Deep Space Nine.
Regular series 66 to 69.
69,
yeah.
93 to 99 for Deep Space Nine, 95 to 2001, and Enterprise 2001 to, it's on for 4 years. Wow. News of the Star Trek TV series comes after the franchise has been mired with rights issues between CBS Paramount after Viacom merged with CBS in 2000. CBS's corpse absorbed, blah, blah, blah. The company to distribute. So that makes sense why it's been a little bit of a disarray for a while. The Star Trek revival comes as a reboot, and the follow-up continue to be a high demand on broadcast and cable streaming. Kurtzman, a frequent partner with Robert Orci, who is not attached to CBS Star Trek, is behind CBS's follow-up to Bradley Cooper's Limitless and also executive producers of the network. Okay, we don't give a shit about that. The new series will premiere to the national CBS audience, then boldly go where no first-run Star Trek series has gone before, directly to 1 million fans through CBS All Access. It says Mark Diabosi, executive vice president and soul sucker from CBS.
And then it's going to go where lots of things go every day, down the toilet.
No, or then it's going to go right over to Pirate Bay where a lot of things go. We've experienced terrific growth with CBS All Access, expanding the service across affiliates. So it's the perfect. So now we have an incredible opportunity to accelerate the growth of this iconic Star Trek and devote its passionate fan base for our original first series. So, okay, maybe they could, from a standpoint of quality, if they release this not week to week, if they release this as, say, like a 10-episode arc, get the right people to work on the actual production of the series, it could be a great series. It's still not going to get me to buy the CBS All Access. That being said, I say that now, but when it gets close, when we're getting close, I'm going to
be a total liar.
And I watch that first episode, and if I like that first episode that they show on the TV, I'm going to like everything we just said here. We are both, and I can tell, we're like this right now because we're really excited. We've waited for this day. We've waited for this announcement, and just like every Star Trek fan, you look into everything. Star Trek teaches us critical thinking, and we look into this and we call our bullshit. But just like every other Star Trek fan, we're kind of hypocrites. And if we like it, we're gonna buy it. We're gonna do it.
Well, you remember what I said about Voyager?
Mm-hmm.
That if the show was just they put the whole crew into deep sleep and set a course for home, right? And all they did was show like exterior of the ship going, and then inside showed you that the crew was still alive, and then showed exterior of the ship, and that was the whole series, I would have given it 3 seasons to get good.
Yeah, great point. So when it comes down to it, the problem we have with it. It's the putting the cocaine in the famous Amos cookies or Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
It's they know they have us by the short ones right now. They have us by, they're grabbing us, they're squeezing us. We've been waiting for this a really long time. And
the other thing is, if you're going to take a show, and $5.99 is not a lot, but there are people who can't afford that. And if you're going to take a show that people can't afford, why make it Star Trek? Because again, Star Trek it's such, like we've been saying, and I say, it's like the people's show, and it's such a fan integrated show.
Absolutely. And it's such a show as well that even though I like Deep Space Nine the most, where it introduces money as an issue, it's something that the human race has got to this utopian place where money isn't a factor anymore, and everyone's, it's kind of interesting to have Star Trek be a series that is one of the first that you need to pay for just to watch it on the CBS All Access streaming service. And I
have a feeling like, and I know that Gene Roddenberry made money and wanted to make money, and God bless him for it, but I have a feeling that he would probably be excited about the idea of the technology, but not excited about the fact that it's like you have to subscribe to a different. It's basically everything is a subscription channel. It's like if cable suddenly turned every channel was $6.99 a month.
And this is fair to say, even this year they're experimenting with having a football game only online, that you can't watch it anywhere else. The only way you can watch it is on I believe it's on YouTube, on Yahoo, on the Yahoo streaming service. So there's so this is a big period of time, and you're right in the sense that Gene Roddenberry would be very proud of the fact that this is pushing the future, that Star Trek is the series. And I guess that's probably what they're thinking and why they're picking it. I just personally know a lot of people that are gonna be like, what do you mean I gotta get a CBS All? Can I watch that on my TV? I know the people that are into Star Trek that are gonna be like that. I'm not gonna do this. I mean, you and me, we're gonna ultimately pay the piper and probably do it if we like the first episode.
I'm gonna cancel it the minute the season's over.
Okay, PJ Mars says it will air on CBS later, just not right away. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope they.
Okay, I could deal with that.
See, I have in anything I've read.
Run on the online service, and then later run on the network for the public.
No problem.
Accept that.
Zero problem.
No problem with that.
Zero problem. And Mystery of the Season says Quark would totally Pirate Bay. Quark would have invented Pirate Bay. He invented the Ferengi version of Pirate Bay. It's called the Great. What was they having called the Great? It was like the Great. Whatever it was.
Oh. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Where everything's gold. The Great, I forget what it is. Yeah. Someone correct. Someone will be like, you're a Deep Space Nine fan, but you don't know what the Ferengi Heaven's called? You idiot. Oh my gosh. Now I have to.
I can't remember.
I have to look it up now. What's that? Ferengi Heaven.
Please stand by while we Google.
Please, yes, please. While I can't spell Ferengi. Sorry about that. I'm back.
That's okay.
But I'm back without Google. If I suddenly went silent for a second, it's because but I have this little, you can't see the camera, but I have this little box that blinks colors, and when it blinks too much, all my power goes out. Or Gadi was talking about earlier that we might that it might be CBS blocking us, being like, guys,
CBS is. CBS has got a beef with us. We're a major force in entertainment and communications, Phil.
Let's true.
Face that.
It is absolutely.
And so, CBS, they have to bring out the big guns to deal with us. They can't just ignore it.
Oh my gosh. Memory Alpha has way too many. I'm trying to scroll down to get the name of the Ferengi Heaven, but it's like so. It has so many ads on it. It's scrolling down so slowly. It better not be like this on the sale on the Divine Treasury. Thank you.
The Divine Treasury. Oh, duh.
I love the episode when
I knew that.
When Quark is like his death is faked or something, and he's asleep and he has a dream of the Divine Treasury, and he's like, this place is kind of tacky, and they're like, well, that's because this is your goddamn dream. This is how you imagine the place. I love Quark. He's one of. I hope Armin Shimmerman has some part to do with this new Star Trek series. I hope they do
I saw
that.
him at a convention, and he told me to breathe from the diaphragm when I asked my question. He's awesome.
He is awesome. I had my first interaction this year with a Star Trek person. I met Tasha Yar, and I did a little interview with her. And I got to say, I was. But it's on the channel on one of the videos. Out of everyone I've talked to, for whatever reason, just talking to, and even Tasha fucking Yar, I'm like, oh, how's it going? She's like, okay, calm down. And I asked her about a Star Trek reboot series because I had heard another rumor for.
She was pushing one that would have been what's her face, the daughter.
Right. And there was also a brief time where they were talking about making a reboot to Star Trek: The Next Generation. And I asked her about that, and she said that would be a horrible idea.
It would be a very bad idea.
That'd be a very,
very bad idea.
So, Gadi, I think this is probably a good time to cut off. And thank you so much for joining me to talk some crazy Star Trek talk.
No, you're welcome. Down with CBS.
Down with CBS. And let's hope that they really are going to show these episodes afterwards. I hope you're right.
If they do, all is forgiven.
It is, but PJ says, correction. The first episode will air on TV January 17th, but all the other episodes will run in the streaming service. Will piss some people off. They may change their minds and air it on CBS. So yes, PJ, we're pissed off about that because
we're pissed off.
We are pissed off. We're some of the people that are really pissed off, and we really do hope that. Again, I don't blame them for running this on CBS All Access, but I think it would be a smart bet if they did that and then over a holiday break or over something decided to air a marathon or something or show the episodes in the off season, something on television eventually for some of the people that aren't into the cutting the cord stuff.
Or once they've run it, license it to Netflix or Amazon.
Why aren't they doing that?
Why
aren't they doing that to the first? But why aren't they just producing this on Netflix? Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Janeway is already on Netflix, so I mean, they don't even have to go that far to film her scenes.
They don't. Good place to leave off. Gadi, thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk to you very, very soon out here.
Anytime, Phil.
Later,
Bye-bye.
guys. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, what you think of this new Star Trek series and what you think of the online streaming service of CBS doing it this way. You think it's a mistake? Are you going to get it just to watch Star Trek? Do you already have it? What are you thinking about that? You can also leave voicemail 781-990-8509. Email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com. Check out issuesprogram.com. Check out all of our other videos. We'll talk to you guys soon. Atheist bastard says, greedy bastards. Mystery of the Sea says, live long and prosper and may the force be with you guys. Yeah, greedy bastards. That's the point. Watch out for those demons. It's awful. Oh gosh.
That's pure greed.
It is pure greed.
It is not logical.
Okay, and that's the thing. We'll talk out the music. We'll do like the end of the show, talk out the music. But when it really comes down to it, like, I understand the pushing the future thing. I do. I understand that maybe 10 years from now, cable is going to be a thing of the past. But as you were saying earlier, the most important point is we can't get into this model where every station is going to be their own island. It should be Netflix. If you want to do the streaming service,
there should be consolidators.
Consolidating. Yeah, we don't need more islands. We need to bring Pangea this shit. Pangea this shit all together.
Yeah, I've never heard Pangea used as a verb and used as a verb so well.
Thank you. I think it actually worked. I wasn't like doing the kid rock, like I wasn't kid rocking up and down my block there. I wasn't doing that. Goodbye, everybody.